it's very easy to hurt our children as single parents and damage them, damage their ego, damage their spirit, man. And this happens when we allow our frustrations to boil over. Walk with me this day. You wake up and the children are small. They need you for everything, for clothing, for feeding, and for taking them to school. There's everything that you could possibly deal with on a regular day. But in this particular case, you're alone, you're parenting alone, maybe you have a house help. And that's also just comes in to add to the equation of the number of people you have to engage with, the number of possibilities and opportunities that can get you all worked up depending on what is going on. Then there's a personal you where you're not very sure whether you're still within God's plan. You still maybe feel like you're running behind. Maybe time in terms of age has caught up. Maybe your career is not where you'd want it to be, and many other things. So that maybe from within you feel like you're lagging behind in terms of your dreams and aspirations. In terms of being a parent, you have moments where the whole taking care of a child or children is overwhelming and very tiring, where they are needy and you have to come in and play different roles, be a teacher in the evening, be a caregiver, take care of their emotions in terms of when they come home and they've had a long day or a difficult day. You're there to help them and to lift them up. Think about any other role. The child is not well, and here you are trying to figure out, so is it a painkiller I should give them, or should I just give them water and let them rest? And what if something goes wrong? And then we are getting into the night. What if this child gets worse at night, and you have to, now you're trying to make those decisions. So here you are dealing with everything else and taking that role of, should I run to hospital? Is it an emergency? Is it something that I might regret later? You're an employer if you have a house help, or if you're running your own company and you have many other issues there. You have neighbors, you have other obligations, you have meetings and all, whether in the office or outside the office. There's so much you have to take. There's bills, and you don't know, you feel like this month the income will not be able to sustain you, or you don't even have a savings, and there's so much going on. And these are everyday issues where maybe you're dealing with a loan that hasn't gone and it's seated there for months, and you're dealing with it, and every month there's an interest, and every month is a challenge. Children have emotions, they have happy emotions, they want to be patted on their back, and you don't want to miss that opportunity to appreciate them and to congratulate them just because you are feeling a certain way. It's your responsibility, it's your duty to encourage them and to celebrate them, yet all this time you're alone. And so what happens when all that boils over and suddenly it becomes too much? Maybe just triggered by one other thing, and that other thing would be children just playing and one falling down or something and crying, and just at that point things just tip over and you have no more patience, you have no more strength, you have no more self-control, and you cannot handle it. And if suddenly it's a small normal thing, but because you're carrying so much load, at that point, that small addition, that one thing that wasn't there 5 minutes ago, come in and tips the scale, and now you erupt like a mountain. You erupt like a volcanic mountain, and the children have nowhere to go to. They have no other parent or no other grown-up to talk to, someone who can step in for them, someone who can help you tone down and be a bit more tempered as you go forth, because at this point now you are so done, and unfortunately the nearest people around you, especially for example if you're alone in the house with the children, are just children who are under your authority, and so they become the easiest target to be affected by your emotions that you couldn't contain, that you couldn't control, that you couldn't manage, and now they have to take the brunt of things. And at that very moment, when your scale is tipping and you say an unkind thing to that one child who was coming to you excitedly talking about, look at what I've brought you, mom, or look at what I've brought you, dad, or this is what happened today, or this is what my teacher said to me. And when they are seeking that attention at that moment, at that very important moment, because it is important, and that's why they are coming to you. And what do? You pour on them cold water in terms of your reaction. You don't want to listen. You cut that story short. That celebration does not climax, and now a child has to deal with the feelings of shame, the feelings of not being celebrated. And they have a downcast heart, they have a downcast face, and you can see it all unfold. But you've carried so much over time, you're not able to hold yourself. And even if you do, the damage is already done. And now you can only, collect yourself, gather yourself, and come back and hug this child and congratulate them, or whatever it is that you needed to do. And what is the memory they'll be left with about that particular day? You will move on because there are many other things you're concerned with. You will move on. But like you and I, when they grow up and they look back, what will they remember about their mom? What will they remember about their dad? Is it that they will remember a parent who was forever unhappy, a parent who was forever upset, a parent who went off at anything and they could not control their anger, they were sulky, they were always, even if you try to hide their crying, they will catch you once in a while. They will know. At times we underestimate the wisdom our children have and the sensitivity to things, to matters around them, and we think that we have concealed that tear and that difficult moment. What are they going to remember? Because you and I have memories of our childhood, things that maybe you remembered your dad do, or things that you remembered your mom do, and you didn't like them, and maybe you couldn't ask. People at my age would know we didn't question our parents. And so those moments where you were confused when you saw something that you didn't appreciate, or you heard something that you didn't think was right, it didn't sit well with you, and it left a feeling of shame or a feeling of excitement, where when you go back to your childhood days, you have amazing memories. Your dad did this, your mom was this kind of person. When you came home, there was this sweet aroma in the kitchen. When you were with dad, this is the kind of fun person he was. Depending on what your memories are, do you realize that you're creating memories for your child or for your children, and that they soon will be in our place looking back and thinking, whoa, my mom was quite uptight. Yeah, she was quite uptight. She was quite unhappy. She was very strict. And so what are those memories you're creating now for your children at whatever age they are? In the process of bringing order in your house, in the process of taking care of the family and ensuring that things run smoothly, and dealing with everything else in the world that you need to deal with. When all that is happening and it's all your responsibility and it's all your role, and the children don't understand that because it's none of their business to figure out what the budget looks like, whether we have food in the house today or not, or someone went to the market or not, that is none of their business. So when you're dealing with all that and trying to stretch yourself in different ways and trying to work out systems and operations around the house that are efficient, so that you're also not too stretched, or you're working in a very efficient way, as you're trying to do all that, are you aware that you're creating memories for your children, and that there's a certain way they'll grow and remember you and think, yes, though we struggled, we still had our fun. Mom still did this, dad still did that. As we walk this journey, and as you parent alone or as you co-parent, what are those specific things you're doing? And again, I said, regardless of what the age was, personally, when the children were still young in the early years, I was quite uptight. At times I listen to the memories they pull from their past, and some of them are pretty sad. I go like, oh dear, I did that. I mean, I said that. What was I thinking? I mean, and I want to salvage that moment. And right now we can have conversations, and I'll say, that wasn't wise. That I don't know what I was thinking. That just wasn't right. Or I listen to them have memories that are pleasant, and it just warms my heart. Now I'm more deliberate and intentional about creating good memories for them, and praying that when they think about their lives as they were growing up, at least it will not all be dull and painful. They'll actually have moments they can pull and say, that was amazing. I mean, I learned this, I saw this, and I enjoyed when mom did this, or the others. Ask yourself what kind of memories you're creating. Be intentional about creating memories for them, so that when they grow up and they look back, then they will say, yeah, life was this, we had these challenges, but we also had these great moments.